Good morning and welcome back. Today we'll be traveling from Tucumcari, New Mexico to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So let's get started. As we leave Tucumcari heading west, we have two options, Interstate 40 or the original Route 66, which on some maps is called the I-40 frontage road. Looking southeast as we leave Tucumcari, we can see Tucumcari Mountain. According to legend, told by Chief Geronimo, the mountain was named after two young lovers, Tucum and Cari, who died a tragic death. Tucum died in a duel with a rival lover, and Cari took her own life when she heard what happened to Tucum. One of my favorite things along this short section of the Mother Road are three little concrete bridges built in the 1930s that you cross right before you reach Montoya. In Montoya, we find what's left of Richardson's store. It was built in 1918 and it thrived through the 20s, 30s, and 40s. In its heyday, there was an adjoining picnic grove and the store carried groceries and auto supplies. In the late 1950s, Interstate 40 opened to the south and the store was bypassed. That made business dry up. It closed in the 1970s, and even though it was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1978, the building unfortunately continues to deteriorate. Continuing down Original 66, we next come to the town of Cuervo, and we find the historic Santo Nino Catholic Church. This church was built in 1915, 3 years after New Mexico became a state. I'm not sure when it closed. I believe the yellow building to the right is the rectory where the parish priest lived. When we leave Cuervo, it's easiest to take Interstate 40, which runs on top of the latest alignment of Route 66. But prior to 1950, Route 66 ran directly south from Cuervo on a gravel road to Highway 156. That gravel road shown as a dotted line in this picture. At the time, most people took the Cuervo cutoff, shown here, which was a gravel road that ran diagonally southwest from Cuervo to Highway 156. I tried taking the deteriorating cutoff in 2006 in a Subaru, but I couldn't make the rougher parts. This picture shows the smooth end of the cutoff, where it connects to Highway 156. I someday want to come back and try doing this in a Jeep. If you've ever tried to navigate the Cuervo cutoff, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments below. Santa Rosa was famous for the Club Cafe, the home of the Fat Man. Built in 1935 after Route 66 came through town, the cafe's logo was a smiling fat man with his polka dot tie and a huge grin on his face, indicating that he had just dined on the home cooking of the Club Cafe. The restaurant was hugely popular in its heyday. It closed in 1992. When I first visited in 2006, you could still see Chef Ron Chavez's name painted on the low wall in the back of the parking lot. He owned the cafe from the 1970s until it closed. The owners of Joseph's Bar and Grill, which is right down the road, bought the Club Cafe with the thought of reopening it, but for years it just sat empty and kept deteriorating. This last image was made in 2015, just before the building was razed. Then in 2019, the Club Cafe sign was finally removed. If you've ever visited the Club Cafe, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments below. Route 66 from Santa Rosa to Albuquerque is mostly under Interstate 40. As we come into the city of Albuquerque, we'll stay on original Route 66, which becomes Central Avenue. On the eastern edge of the city, we find the Luna Lodge. Built in 1949 in the Pueblo Spanish Revival style, the lodge is organized in roughly a U-shape, featuring 28 rooms. After falling on hard times, the Luna Lodge was purchased in 2013 and rehabilitated into 30 apartment units. It is no longer open for travelers. Further west on Central Avenue, we come to the Tewa Lodge. Built in 1946 in the same Pueblo Spanish Revival style as the Luna Lodge, it features rounded parapets and projecting wooden roof beams. Unlike the Luna Lodge, though, the Tewa Lodge is still open for travelers as a motel. Continuing along Central Avenue through Albuquerque, we come to the Anza Motor Lodge. Built in 1939 by Charles Garrett Wallace, a trader for the Zuni Pueblo Indians, this large complex was expanded in the late 1940s to accommodate the increase in post-war travel. C.G. Wallace became a central figure in Zuni Pueblo trading and contributed to increasing the tribe's jewelry-related income from 5 to 65%. There was a jewelry counter in the lobby of the Anza. The motor lodge closed in the 1990s, and the city of Albuquerque bought it with the idea of finding a new owner to develop the property in a way that honors its history. When I visited the property in 2015, it was surrounded by a fence, though I had a chance to talk with a security guard on site. He told me there are beautiful murals on the walls of the basement conference room painted by a Zuni artist. Finally, as we hit the west end of Central Avenue, we come to the El Don Motel. This was built in 1950, and its early postcards said it has tubs and showers, tile baths, free radios, air-conditioned, and Wallomatic heat. The El Don is still open. It still operates as a motel and is currently open for travelers. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, a thumbs up is always appreciated. If you have any questions about any of the stuff that we covered in this episode, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Gems and Hidden Histories. Thanks again for watching. See you next time, and stay safe.